Thank you for joining me. I'm Nicholas Ruston, the founder of Robot Mascot. And at Robot Mascot, we are really, really, really lucky because we get to work with so many inspiring founders like yourselves that are always doing new things and coming up with new ideas and taking leaps into the unknown. And taking those leaps, as you well know, can be pretty daunting and it can be pretty lonely too. And that's why I like to bring you these sessions to support you on your journey and give you access to great people like Ashley, someone that I've worked with for years, and I can't recommend him enough. And there's people like Ashley that can help you along the way. So I was really pleased when Ashley agreed to join me on this session and join us on this session. He's got tons of experience about how to write your book and get your voice out there. Feel free to take down notes and get as much as you possibly can out of this. You will go away from this inspired. That's a big point of these sessions. And please do feel free to be really, really vocal at the end as well and ask lots of questions. You can either do that by putting them in the chat, or we'll take you off of mute and we can have a chat, or you can have a chat with Ashley. Okay, so now for the main event. Enough from me. Now I'd like to introduce you to Ashley Stokes, lead writer of The Ghosting Company. Here he is.
Hi, thank you very much, Nick. Very excited to meet you all. My name is Ashley Stokes, and I'm the lead writer of the Ghosting Company. I've been Robot Mascot's ghostwriter. I've been a copywriter. I've been a fiction writer under my own name and in several genres and forms, the long form, short form, and also scripts. And I've been a creative writing lecturer for the Open University, for University of East Anglia and Norwich Art School. Been a workshop leader, and I'm a former publisher, which means I'm good with deadlines and project management. Uh, and I've been an editor and I've been a consultant, all of which is 25 years of experience of writing and working in the world of books and publishing, and all of which I can bring to bear to help someone turn their brand narrative into their own unforgettable story that attracts to them clients, customers, and hopefully investors. Stories are, after all, always around us. It's my job to make sure that people are reading yours. So, what I'd like to run through with you now is how I can create for you books and other texts that can help you grow your brand, build your business, boost your message, and make you stand out from the crowd. So, how can a ghostwriter help you transform your brand? Well, I think many of us think initially that only celebrities and maybe sports people use ghostwriters, possibly politicians. But which isn't true, but when you think about it, the reason why a celebrity might use a ghost is because they have the same list of don'ts that you do, being that they don't know where to start, they don't know what to say, they don't know how to say it, and they don't have the time to either do it, or more importantly, have the time to learn how to do it. So, one of the important things we need to realize is that though we all write all the time and we write text, we write documents, we write presentations, write emails, write shopping lists, it takes about 15 years of writing experience to be able to write well and to be able to write to a publishable standard. And only about 2% of people writing can write to a publishable standard, or to write with any kind of standout voice and panache. And this is where business people often have like a problem because you don't have the time to put in to learn how to do this. Um, but you might also have had like a long-term dream to write a book, whatever type of book that is. It could be the story of your success and how hard won that was, how you got to the top, or it could be something more technical and professional that tells us about the ideas behind your product or services, or something about the future of your industry that you feel that you can share. And it may also be very painful to you to not to be able to commit to this project, that you think you have to wait until you've retired. And of course, if you write a book after you've retired, it's not going to be useful to your business as such. So this might be giving you pain, and it might make you even a bit melancholy. But writing a book and having a book available, whether it's personal or autobiographical or it's technical and professional, it's a great way of supplementing your brand and defining your story, the story of your brand, and glamorizing your brand and giving your brand life. Your brand is a story. There is a story of how you and yours had a dream and how you made it a reality. And this should be inspiring to anyone who wants to work in your field. Your business could, of course, be a work in progress, and telling the story, laying out its plotline and framework will help bring the brand to life, or at the very least, help you define who you are and what you stand for. But also, at a more basic level, all stories are about solving problems. They're about conflict and cause and effect. They're about our values and how we stand by them. How a story ends tells us about values and what are our values. So, in a romance, simply put, where two people have had to fight really hard to be together. If at the end they get married, we're saying that love conquers all. But if they don't, we're saying something else. We're saying life is messy, or that all that glitters is not gold, or that nice guys don't dance on an empty stomach, or something. So your brand also has a story, and telling it will only make it more compelling. So, what problems are we going to solve, and how do we defeat those problems? Do we write it like we'd write a thriller? How are we going to tell it? Do we write it like it's a poem? Do we write it like it's a vignette? Do we write it like it's an epic? How do we change people's lives, or at least make them a noticeable difference to their comfort and convenience? How do we let them know we are doing this? And we do this with story, of course. We do this by starting with a problem and ending with a solution. We start with a lie and we end with truth. And so working with a ghostwriter will help you uncover the raw material at the heart of your experience. And in the process, turn the book that you always wanted to write into the book that everybody want to read. So what type of services do a ghostwriter provide? Well, we'll write your book for you, obviously. That's the main thing here. Um, but the narrative spine um, that we will work out together, that doesn't necessarily have to be restricted only to book form. So your options here aren't only to kind of have me write your autobiography or textbook. Ghostwriter can also help you with blogs, with presentations, with short presentation documents, speeches, side projects. Um, for example, I wrote the glossary of terms for Robot Mascot, which was a kind of one-off, quirky project where we defined all the kind of little ticks and eccentricities that Robot Mascot was designed to solve for people. I also wrote an A to Z for an eyewear company that British broadcasted just how knowledgeable this particular guy was about eyewear, the history of eyewear, the fashion history of eyewear, the science of eyewear, and how we make on everything to do with how a pair of glasses is put together. Ghostwriter can also be your on-hand bespoke comms strategist, always there for you to fire ideas at and see what sticks and what can be spun into gold. I'm also quite frequently able to articulate for people what they mean much better than they can and more concisely. So, I mean, on that score, if you think initially that creative writers were first employed in university and taught as a university subject in technical universities, so to teach technical students how to think outside the box, how to be more creative, how to break the rules, and think quite differently. Plenty of people in business learn the rules of business when actually they need to break the rules a little bit to play the game. So anyway, I've completely digressed there, but everything is part of your brand story and everyone should know about it. Which it won't be if it's delivered in a boring way, to just letting somebody in, or if you rely too much on AI. So a word about AI. Although AI might have a purpose in writing very basic copy, like LinkedIn updates and mail outs and stuff that you don't want to do, and nobody wants to write that sort of thing. We are already glutted over the last year or so with very samey, misfiring, and obviously AI copy that's turning people off. Just like the use of AI voiceovers in YouTube is turning people off because it doesn't seem legitimate. or real anymore. It often feels like you don't care if you're using AI. So I often hear business people say that AI copy is good enough, when I tend to think that, like as Voltaire said, good is the opposite, is the enemy of best. The thing is, AI has never experienced what it writes about. If you ask it for the color of love, it's going to say it's beige or blancmange or whatever the aggregate is. It's never, because it's never been in love. It's never drunk coffee, and it's never written a sentence that seems like rough and wrong, but on reflection is uncannily apt and strangely beautiful. Um, when I think about this, I often think about something that the director, film director Alex Cox said, who was once asked about his favorite scene in the movies, and he mentioned a scene in the 1939 original King Kong film where King Kong the Big Ape fights a Tyrannosaurus Rex, T Rex, and during the scene he lifts Fay Wray, the actress, into a tree so she's safe from the fight. And during the fight, the T Rex has nothing to do, so he stands still and he scratches his head. And Cox says he loves this scene because it shows the personality of the puppeteer behind the T-Rex. When there'll be like dozens and dozens of technicians and CGI people orchestrating the dinosaurs in, say, Jurassic Park, they all look the same. And even though they kind of look convincing, they don't have any personality. So certainly you shouldn't be using AI for your major works or texts in which you want to lay down your core beliefs. AI is like the T-Rex that can't scratch its own head. So how do you work with a ghostwriter? Well, firstly, I pride myself on being able to listen, and I generally and genuinely want you to have the book that you want and the book that is successful for you. So I want to spend time getting to know you and your project. And we will have lots of free-ranging conversations, an initial freewheeling kind of stage, and we work out what we have and what we're going to do and what we need. And this stage is usually like a great deal of fun. I will usually work by recording everything on Zoom. So I have the conversations to return to later on. But also, this allows me to copy your voice. So what I write sounds as like you as you want it to like. I mean, there might be occasions where you don't want the text to sound like you, but if it's your story, then you certainly do want it to be infusing your personality to a lesser or greater degree. Um, Once we have worked out a plan and how we're going to write it, I will go off and apply my storytelling nous to your project. But I usually like to share with you what I'm doing every kind of section or chapter, so I can get feedback from you whether we're doing it in a way that you like, and also so we can draw up an agenda for how we're going to revise it when we've finished. Also, I want to make out that we're not getting anything fundamentally wrong, and we're not like writing your story like it's a slapstick comedy when it's supposed to be something else. So, on this score, as a rule of thumb, any text, whether it's a business book or a poem, goes through a triangular process of discovery, composing, and polishing, or probably simpler put, planning, writing, and editing. Once we've finished a first draft, we can address any issues or omissions in a second draft, and then we can have like a final polish of that where we cross the T's and dot the I's, which I often call like comma patrol. But that's just to make sure that everything is reading as slickly and cleanly and fluently as we would like. If you're intending to look for a commercial publisher, I will write a pitch publication document, a prospectus document for you. Um, Alternatively, there's another way that we can work is that you write a draft of something and I'll write over it. So you might have already started a book and be unhappy with it, and I can knock that into some kind of shape for you. But there is also no set way to do this. So we can work out initially what is the best way that fits your needs and your schedule. Uh, you know. So how does a ghostwriter save you time, money, and pain? So using a ghostwriter allows you to shortcut what is not only a steep learning curve, but a long and protracted one, Ron. If you're running a business, you simply don't have the time, even if you can make time to write a book, to learn how to do it, which involves not just a heavy layer of natural instinct and ability, but years of application, trial and error, and experience. Writing is a muscle. It needs exercise every day, just like any other muscle. So I'll save you the pain of an extra fitness regime and give you the thrill of having your name on the spine of a book. It's also far cheaper to use a ghostwriter than the tiers and tiers of accredited courses and MAs and Meet the Publishing Network events, etc., that you could otherwise do. It'd be far quicker to use a ghost than doing it yourself for the reasons that I've just said. So, in absolute conclusion, if you have an idea where you have a book, I'll make it happen and it'll be a fun, collaborative, creative process. It'll be less stressful on your time, your pocket, and your ego. And I can do plenty of other things for you as well. I'll be your on-hand comms advisor. I'll be your blog, be your creative writing sounding board, and all the aim of producing stories that will make your audience sit up and listen. So, my name is Ashley Stokes. My website is theghostingcompany.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And now it's my turn to listen. So, if you have any questions, I'm all ears.
Well, thanks a lot, Ashley. That was a fantastic presentation. Yeah, guys, does anyone have any questions for Ashley? Feel free to put them in the chat, and yeah, we can fire away. I've got um, I've got some a question myself, which is probably one that a lot of you are thinking about, and that's how long does it take? If I'm going to go on this conquest and this journey of writing my book, how long does the thing take? So first one from me.
How long does it take? Well, that really is a how long is a piece of string type question. I mean, for a standard kind of business style book, it's probably not as long as writing somebody's uh, novel for them, I should imagine. But it's something that we work out when we start, considering how long we think it's going to be, how much research there's going to be. But really, it comes down to time. Um, how much we think we can produce, how easy it is to research. So it's something that we probably play by ear, but we're better to make some kind of guesstimate once we know what we're talking about. Of course, a book can be many, many different things. So to say how long it takes with any like definition, definite clarity beforehand is a little bit hard. But it really does depend on the project. But it's something I'd be able to anticipate when I'm given a proposal.
Cool. Well, I've got hey, there's a question just come in from Rooms and Rooms Limited, asking, can you tidy up my LinkedIn stroke personal business later down the line? And you want to do like a book later down the line. So can you tidy up like this chap's LinkedIn and personal business copy?
I'm sure I could. I've done things like that before, as Nick knows, and probably having a nose around your business and tidying up your LinkedIn would give me a background in writing a book for you later on. So anything that helps me understand your business is good.
Cool. And how could he contact
How can you contact me? Well, there's if you go to my website, theghostingcompany.com, or my LinkedIn page, there you can contact me via there,
you? Cool. And you'll be doing a follow-up after this
and
as
I'll be
well.
doing a follow up after this as well. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. Got another question here. Okay, for your clients, what's the most rewarding part of getting their book out there? Let's over to Ash.
Well, that does depend on what you actually wanted from it in the first place. And some people get an awful lot of satisfaction and credence from having everyone knowing their story and how, hard won and inventive they've had to be to get there. So there is that. In, Alternatively, people often feel a great satisfaction when the book allows them to tell their story in a way that gives them tangible rewards, which will be new clients, new customers, possibly new partners and stuff. So it's whether you want like the reward or the having your feathers stroked. And it will the kind of you kind of split that down to like whether it is like your autobiography type business book or your how-to business book. But it might also be worth you thinking about what you want from the book as well. Like if you expect to make a bestseller salary off your business autobiography, probably won't. But not you won't make your money back, but it won't make your household name. Um, But generally there is like an achievement in having your book out, and there's also the rewards that come from it that help your marketing your business.
Thank you for that, Ash. I was waiting for this question to come in, and it has come in. This is from Toby G. How much does it cost?
How much does it cost? Well, it will cost, again, pretty like the first question about how long will it take. If we work out how long it's going to take, we'll have an idea of how long it's going to cost. Again, without seeing a proper proposal, it's very hard for me to say. It work on how many months I think it's going to take. Um, and then also, like on top of that, I do also have kind of day rates if we kind of want other things done or what have you. But again, if you want to give you an answer to that, I really need to see what you want me to do, and in which case there's a form on my website. We can have a think. But working out how long we can do it most economically, that's the first stage of that.
Okay. Um, I'm going to ask one more question. Okay, what's like a fairly unusual project that you might have worked on?
Well, you know that I've worked on many really unusual projects.
Yeah.
Um, the most unusual project I've worked on is a counter-insurgency handbook for a Nigerian general. That's the most strange thing unusual thing that I've done, which I managed to do, and then turned out the guy was lying about all his techniques, and then he got fired, so the book was never published. So that's the most unusual project I've ever had.
Cool. Thanks for that. If anyone else has any questions, yeah, fire them in the chat. And failing that,
I've put two in,
oh, you
Nick.
put two in, have you? Have you? I can't see them in there. That's weird. I can't see them. Would you like to ask? Would you like to say them? I'll put Ashley on.
Sure. Hi, Ashley. So when, as a startup founder, should you look to start putting out a book? Because obviously you hear Daniel Priestley say, oh, you should stick a book out because it's a lead generator and all that sort of stuff. But if you've got a startup disruptor brand and it's the, against all odds journey to you launching, is it too early? Because your business might fail. To, not that this one will,
Hmm.
but is it too early to do it before, as you're launching, or should you wait till you're kind of like a couple of years in until the disruptor brand is up and running?
I would, I mean, again, I think I'd have to think about what the brand was and what we'd actually have to say, because at the beginning we might not have a book because there's no story.
Oh, there's a story.
Do you see what I mean? But at the beginning of the brand, it might well be a very good thing to have a book that outlines your vision, that like what is the problem that you're trying to solve? What's going to attract people to the idea, the romance of what you're trying to do as a disruptor brand, rather than sort of looking back and like with pipe and slippers and saying this is what we did. It's more like what we're going to do, and that can make the brand feel really exciting to people. I mean, like anything, we don't want to say things that aren't true, which kind of later on that might be a problem for us. So at the beginning, I think laying out your vision in some sort of sense would be quite a good thing to do. I mean, if you think as well, just going back, like Barack Obama writing The Audacity of Hope gave him a big wind behind his sails that he had theory behind what he was doing. So what your vision is, what's the beginning of your quest? Stories are about quests. Why are we
Yeah.
going on this quest? Why does this business exist? What can we solve? How can we help you? So there's a way of producing, and it doesn't need to be like a big book then, does it? It needs to be like something that, can be 40,000 words of, uh, you know, exciting, interesting ideas that will attract all sorts of people to what you're doing. So I
And,
think, I think there's a case for that. And then there's
and
a
it,
case later on of something which is, more based on the hard-won experience of building a business that's successful.
so there's no danger of giving your USPs away though, if you do that.
Well, there's ways that we can conceal your USPs whilst at the same time giving the romance of it. So
Okay.
obviously you don't want to give away your technical, your technical tricks or stuff of yours which is copyrighted or only that you are doing. It's more the whys of it, isn't it? The whys and the wherefores and the lift of it,
Okay.
rather than, the tricks of your trade.
Yeah. Okay. I'll reach out on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Hello.
Hi, and it's a follow-up to what that young lady just spoke about. So, most times you read books in general, it's always the climax of this amazing end. I'm successful now. But in real life, the journey is not like that. And I'm 39 and I've had so much experience in building businesses, success, then it failed onto other business now, doing investment, etc. At what point do you really tell the story? Do you have to wait until you are fully self-actualized? For me, for example, that's a challenge that I have. I believe that I need to be fully wealthy to be able to impart the story. But then I think that if I wait until I'm older, it doesn't benefit anyone now because there are persons on the journey
Yeah,
who
sure. Yeah.
how do you write at that time? Do you put out your expertise and what you've done, or do you wait?
Well, I think that to benefit your business, you shouldn't wait because if you wait, it's already over, isn't it? You're looking backwards
Exactly.
rather than forwards. And what you seem to be hinting towards me is a different type of journey that people can go on. If we don't like the story, we can change the story. It just needs to work on the principles of story. So you're outlining maybe that what is a very a different type of experience, and that would be the theme of this story. So, and that would be useful to other people and be useful to yourself. So, we can, like, in any kind of discussion, we'd work out what type of story we want to tell, why, and what we want to achieve from it. It doesn't always need to be this kind of Cinderella story that some business people want to tell.
Yeah.
We have to, it's because business is hard, and
Or you rarely see the end,
but you
but
don't, yeah.
you never really, as entrepreneurs, get to understand the intricacies of negotiating the big billion-dollar deal. How did you really do it? Like people have, I'm not reading about that kind of stuff because people don't really talk about it.
No,
But you see
exactly.
the
Yeah,
end.
sure. I mean, if we wrote a book like that, we're kind of looking at something which is pulling the curtain away from something that is often concealed from us because we only see the kind of PR surrounding a
Yeah,
deal or something. So, there's plenty of interesting things we can do in telling the truth, right, rather than the PR. So, from what you're saying there, I would think that you should write a book earlier rather than later because you have these questions. If you know what the
yeah,
questions are, we could work together on working out what the answers to those questions are. That'd be part of the kind of gathering process at the beginning before we actually wrote the book, if
yeah.
you see what I mean, the composition of the book. So working out what we have that's different to say is also part of our process, I think. Does
Good. So
that
I
does
would
that does that
like,
help?
yeah, it really does. So once I understand how you work, like costing structure and timelines, then yeah, I would like to start something, you see.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, I'd be happy to hear from you, and we can see what we can do.
Great. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay. I'm really pleased with that. That Ashley, thanks a lot for
No,
today.
thank you.
That was a great session. Like Ashley will just reach out to you guys and so remind you that he's there and he's there if you want to have a bit of a chat with him, have a one-to-one. There's no obligation for that. And yeah, thank you all for joining me today, and thank you for joining this man here, Ashley Stokes. And we just want to say, look, we wish you the best with your journey and your book and your writing, and we hope you can get your story out there in the world.